Hello and good evening to you. Welcome to News 360 and it's live news hub here at this hour in Kanda. My name is Alfred Okansi.
And I'm Natalie Ford. To look at the top stories this evening.
News 360 headlines is brought to you by Deluxipate.
President Akufo-Addo gives Commission of Inquiry into creation of new regions more time to submit its reports.
Four justices of the High Court involved in the Anas Aremia Anas corruption expose suspended.
Also ahead this evening, the referee at the center of the May 9 tragedy, which claimed 127 lives, speaks up after 17 years.
And a new Patriotic Party supporter, Hajia Fati, apologizes for assaulting a journalist.
And ahead in business this evening, spare parts dealers complain about hidden port charges.
And our international front, North Korea freezes 3 U.S. citizens from prison. We bring you details of these and more tonight here on News 360. Remember, we're live on channel 279 on your DSTV. Feel free to join us with your thoughts, your comments, and your views as well. But workers of the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company Limited are protesting the suspension of their embattled CEO, Frances Essiem, by the board of the company. The chairman of the local workers union of the state-owned company, William Klagbo, in an interview with TV3, questioned the decision of the board to suspend the CEO of the company after she turned the fortunes of the company around.
The workers said the current CEO, Frances Essiem, had turned the fortunes of the company around since she was appointed last year. The board of the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company Limited had ordered her to step aside with immediate effect. But chairman of the local union of the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company Limited, William Kwaglo, insists Frances Essiem has done well since her appointment.
We heard in the air that our CEO had been suspended and then by the board chairman, and we don't understand. Since this CEO came, we have seen a lot of development in both our the staffs and the company as a whole. And we don't understand why things should go like that.
He said the workers will resist any attempt to remove her from office.
This is the one that we are looking for. That's why we go on demonstration. So the moment she came, she told us that we should hold on. Everything is under control. So we should go back to work. That's why we call off the demonstration. And now, as you can see, we are working.
Work at the state-owned cylinder manufacturing company has meanwhile resumed after Frances Essiem ordered the company to be locked up over reports the board intended to hold a meeting at the premises.
Now, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company, Frances Essiem, says she is still at post and would remain at post until the Public Services Commission and the Energy Ministry takes a decision on her locus. She was suspended by the board of the company after a misunderstanding between them led to the closure of the company. She addressed a news conference in Accra.
All I'm saying is that the appropriate authorities, including the State Enterprises Commission, Ministry of Energy, are handling matters. So at this stage, I'll appeal for calm from all sides, restraint also by the media in publication, so that at the end of the day, when the authorities speak, then we all abide by what they say. I'm here because I'm the substantive CEO. That's all I will say.
So you are defying the directive?
I said I'm the substantive CEO. That is all I will say. But wait for government to work. I've appealed to them that they should work because we need the income. We need to serve the public. The cylinders need to go out there. So work first in the interest of Ghana. So Ghana first. All other issues will be resolved by the appropriate authorities.
Well, still on this, the State Enterprises Commission and the Ministry of Energy have intervened in the impasse between the board of the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company, GCMC, and the Chief Executive Officer, Ms. Frances Essiem. The State Enterprises Commission has therefore asked the board to freeze the suspension of Frances Essiem as CEO to enable a 3-member committee to look into the impasse and the recommendation that the way forward as well, according to the executive chairman of the State Enterprise Commission, Stephen Asamoah Boateng. The 3-member investigation team to look into the issues at the company has already been constituted. He said they have 2 weeks to let the State Enterprises Commission and the Ministry of Energy get to know the way forward. A letter dated May 7, 2018, signed by Stephen Asamoah Boateng and seen by TV3, said in part, I quote, in view of the serious happenings at the GCMC that I am privy to, I am by this letter informing you, the board chairman and other board members, that I have constituted a 3-member team to investigate the issues at the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company Limited and report by the 31st of May 2018, unquote.
Yes, Alfred. So I'm going to now run us by the people who make up this 3-member investigation team for the GCMCL and know what exactly they're going to be doing and specifically what this team has been put up for. Mr. Felix Intrakwa, senior lawyer and governance expert, is a member of the team, as well as Mr. Victor Ampofo Echampong. He's a chartered accountant, and there's going to be a representative of the Ministry of Energy to look into the activities of the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company and find out the solutions, in fact, to the issues being faced in the organization, to investigate the issues of the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company Limited. And there are 2 reports. This 3-member team is to report its findings by May 31 of 2018. So within the month, this 3-member investigation team is going to report their findings on this issue. And thereafter, a joint report by the executive chairman of the State Enterprises Commission, Stephen Asamoah Boateng, and the Minister of Energy will then be prepared for the appointing authority, the President, for financial decision and action to resolve the impasse and enable the GCMC Limited focus its energy and resources to fulfill its mandate, Alfred. So that's simply what it looks like, what the board is going to be made up of, who the board is going to be made up of, and what exactly is going to be probing into to ensure that the operations of this organization is put in order.
Great. Natalie, thank you very much for the details of that particular letter, which we have a copy of. Justice Barley, Professor Justice Barley, I beg your pardon, is the head of public administration at the University of Ghana Business School. He joins us via Skype. Thank you, Prof, for your time this evening. Now, we can only prove that indeed what the workers are saying, that Francis Essien must turn around the fortunes of the company if we get the audited final accounts of the company. But what should be the focus of this 3-member investigation team into this particular issue? Hello? Okay. Fortunately, we seem to have some problems with the audio of Professor Justice Barley there. We'll try to rectify it and get back to him on this particular issue, but we'll still keep an eye on this subsequent bulletins. But on May 9, 2001, Ghana recorded its worst stadium disaster, which claimed 127 lives. 17 years on, the referee at the center of that match, Jacob Wilson, is saying he does not regret how he officiated the game on that fateful day. My colleague Yofo Sulabi has the following report.
For 17 years, the memories of the May night stadium disaster have lived with people in different ways. The images of 127 bodies piled up after violence broke out at a league game between Accra Hearts of Oak and Kumasi Asante Kotoko has accompanied the darkest tale in Ghana football. Kotoko fans protesting what they claimed was an offside call from referee Jacob Wilson Say and his assistants ripped off seats and threw them on the tarmac. The police responded with tear gas, and the ensuing stampede led to what has become Africa's worst stadium disaster. 17 years on, the center referee has spoken for the first time on his decisions that some fans claim triggered the violence.
People said that my assistant raised the flag. Yes, he did, but for a different infringement. The infringement was for the same attacker, and they have the advantage. But the loss of the game, what do? You play on. I played him on. He brought his flag down. And this, where this gentleman moved to pick his ball, had nothing to do. By law, perfect. He picks the ball, scores. Yeah, some people made noise. It ended. We continued the game.
So there's no sense of guilt for you?
No. I've done nothing wrong. I feel that someone losing a father, losing the son, losing a brother, that aspect. But the blame that was there, that is totally false, and I don't accept that. I always believe that we played our part well. I won't allow those who don't know the law to crucify you.
Tensions between Hearts of Oak and Kumasi Asante Kotoko were high at the time. Hearts were in great form, the best side, not just in Ghana, but in Africa. Their meeting against Kumasi Asante Kotoko naturally had taken on a bigger meaning, so much so that the identity of the referee was a closely guarded secret until hours before the game. Say explains how they decided on him as the center man.
That fateful day, we were 3 center referees appointed. As referees, we ballot for matches that people have controversies. We got to the stadium at 10. As at 10 o'clock, the stadium was full.
The match went on as scheduled at 5 p.m. that day. Accra Hearts of Oak drew level after Lawrence Ajay had opened the scoring for Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Ishmael Ado struck later on to win the game for the Phobians before their home fans at the Accra Sports Stadium. Say remembers how he walked off the pitch safely that evening, went in to freshen up before heading to his hotel room, completely unaware of the disaster that was unfolding. It was in the room that he heard the news about the tragedy.
From the stands, the staircase was so narrow. Unfortunately, those in charge of sport council at that time never opened all the doors. So they were all passing through a narrow part. And for the Adekoka stand, that they peeled off the seat, that wasn't the first time. But the police felt that they were destroying property. So they would scare them off by throwing, tear gas into the stand. And as they were running, they fell off that side. So you see that these things happen outside the main match.
The May 9 disaster was the most defining moment in Say's career. And many years on, he has left the field to stay in the classroom full-time. He is now the vice principal at the Queensland International School in Accra, a mathematician and an author of children's books. He worries that referees are easy scapegoats when things go wrong at football matches, and says the fact that fans still get away with all sorts of behaviors towards referees now is an indictment on administrators and the police who man these football matches, and admonish them to overlook their personal interests.
Go to Hearts match or Kotoko match and you see the police who is protecting you, supporting one of the teams. It happened when I was in second. The policeman, you were a home team. And I don't believe in that. We are all playing. The away team or the home team, they all pay money. They spend. We should move away from home team, away team mentality.
The saddest issue is the fact that stadium violence still occurs now. This last month, we had the same with the Almina Sharks at the Indom Sports Stadium somewhere in the central region. It's a clear concern. But let's go back to our earlier story, where the 3-member committee has been established by the State Enterprise Commission to look into the happenings at the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company Limited. I've been joined back on Skype by Professor Justice Bale. He's the head of Department for Public Administration and Health Services Management, University of Ghana Business School. Prof, thank you for your time once again. Now, I was saying that a 3-member committee has been established to look into this, but what would you expect them to look out for, especially when the workers are claiming that, look, this lady has, Frances Asiam, the CEO, has turned around the fortunes of the company, which we would have to authenticate with the final audited accounts of the company. What should they look out for?
Well, I think that the issues that led to all of these are that there were some misunderstanding between the CEO and somebody, and perhaps I think she went ahead and sanctioned someone, and then the person started also saying things that, you know, according to him, had happened in the organization that were considered not appropriate. So if the 3-man investigation team is going to be looking at these issues, I think the first thing they should look at is whether or not there were any basis for any allegations to be made against the CEO in the first place. And then subsequently, what could have occasioned the board's decision to intervene, and not just intervening to restore come, but intervening perhaps to worsen the situation by asking the CEO to step aside. And so I would want to see what were the issues between the first person and the CEO,
right.
and then subsequently between the CEO and the board.
Right. Mm.
It would be important to get to understand whether or not the allegations of breaches in the procurement processes within the company were anything to go by, and stuff like that.
Well, clearly,
but I also want to find out what is the relationship between the board and the CEO in terms of communication, because you would understand that if there were things that bordered on, for example, terminating appointments or removing people, the management would have perhaps consulted the board and to get some kind of endorsement or otherwise from the board. So what kind of relationship exists between the CEO and the board, for which reason the CEO did not inform the board, and for which reason the board is purporting to ask the CEO to step aside? So those are the things that I want to see clarity on.
So, Prof, you talk about the relationship between the two, I mean, the board and the CEO. Beyond that, there's a bigger problem of corporate governance structures, especially in the state-owned enterprises. How does all of this feed into this situation where you have political heads heading state-owned enterprises, and in some cases, corporate governance is thrown to the dogs?
Well, I think that the current arrangement, as we have in the public administration in Ghana, is, in my view, public administration gone wrong. For example, you get the appointing authority saying that the president would appoint a CEO on the advice of a board or a governing council and with the approval of Public Services Commission.
Right.
Now, you get the president go ahead and nominate, in some cases, the CEO first before the board is constituted. Now, when that happens, the requirement that the president would appoint on the advice of the governing council is no longer given. In other words, the president appoints without a board in place in the first place. Now, if this happens and the CEO who is appointed by the president eventually gets confirmed, and you get a board appointed by the president, then what happens is that if you get a CEO who has more connection to the powerhouse, he or she can throw out the board and do whatever she wants to do.
Right.
And that, in my view, is where our biggest problem is.
Okay.
Elsewhere, you would anticipate that the president would appoint a board. The board would determine what they want in a CEO, go ahead, advertise it, get people to apply, and then the board would decide who they want.
Right.
And then through the Public Services Commission, the president will now do the approval.
Appointment.
But I think we have the process turned down.
Great point. Thank you so much, Prof, for your time this evening. I'm indeed very grateful that you joined us for Skype with your thoughts. Professor Justice Barley is a public administrations expert at the University of Ghana Business School.
Thanks, Alfred, for that there. But let's turn to some other stories. This evening, LPG operators in Kumasi are urging governments to discontinue the implementation of the cylinder recirculation model policy or face their wrath. The operators want government to institute safety measures in regulating their activities instead of taking over the operation of the 7,000-strong group. Our Ashanti regional correspondent Ibrahim Abubakar has the following report.
Spokesperson for the Ghana LPG Operators Association, Nanaba Collins Osetuzu, said the cylinder recirculation policy is designed to deprive them of their economic right. He claims an estimated number of 7,000 jobs will be lost if the policy is implemented.
The policy is going to create an unemployment rate already in Ghana, so we seriously oppose to this policy.
Nanaba Osetuzu said the policy cannot prevent gas explosion, thus the need for government to reconsider its decision to implement it.
The CRM cannot end explosion in Ghana. They just want to kick us from the business.
The implementation of the cylinder recirculation policy was proposed by the National Petroleum Authority (NPA) to ensure that LPG filling points are sited out of densely populated areas and commercial centers. These plants will procure, brand, maintain and fill empty cylinders to be distributed to consumers and households through retail outlets and stations deemed to be low risk after government's assessment. The policy was developed in 2012, but it could not be immediately implemented. However, following a massive gas explosion at Atomic Junction in October 2017, President Akufo-Addo, after a cabinet meeting, issued a directive for the policy to be implemented.
On MTN Video Report today, Stephen Afote, our citizen journalist, reports on the serious traffic jam on the Tanoso-Ebuaka Road in the Ashanti region, which he describes as worrying.
The traffic situation here is very, very terrible. From Tanoso to Ebuaka is just 2 minutes drive. But now, commuters use at least 1 hour to 1.5 hours to cover the same stretch. People at Tanoso and beyond. For MTN Video Report, this is Afote Steven reporting from Tanoso.
Thank you, Afote Stephen, for that. But we'd also want to encourage you to send a lot more of your socially relevant videos on issues happening of development orientation to us on our WhatsApp number 055-1433-044, 055-1433-044. Please, we're grateful. So let's go for a quick break. We'll be back shortly with some more here. And before that, let's find out how the weather will be throughout the night into tomorrow morning.
You're watching News 360 from the News Hub all across the world. You're watching us on 3news.com and TV3 Ghana on Facebook. We've got some news from the world of business coming up shortly. Stay with us.
I am Mrs. Benedicta Foley, the headmistress of Pope John Senior High School, established in 1958, is 60 years old and needed a facelift before the celebration. We wrote to a number of companies, and Deluxe Paint
So Merchant Bank.
Welcome back to News 360. Let's now delve into some news from the world of business. Now, spare parts dealers are complaining about hidden port charges which are affecting their businesses. They made their frustrations known at a stakeholder conference between executives of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, and the Spare Parts Dealers Association in Accra.
In the past few months, the Spare Parts Dealers Association has hinted at several demonstrations against what they call astronomical taxes at the ports. Their grievances include penalties they suffer due to wrong calculations by officials at the port and several unprofessional behaviors of customs officials. Acting chairman of Abosokai Spare Parts Dealers Association, Clement Boateng, explained despite the removal of the 10% import duty charge, they are still paying high prices for other taxes and charges at the ports.
Apart from the 10% import duty, all the other charges we are supposed to pay. If I give you the duty paper now, we have about 16 or 17 charges on the duty paper.
Commissioner of Customs Isaac Krenzel, in response to these grievances, said Customs will now engage the spare parts dealers extensively to arrive at charges. He advised dealers to be truthful and declare correct cost of goods to avoid misunderstanding.
We have to come together with one accord and agree to prices. And this is what today we have come to explain. Traders must give us the actual invoice and not faking documents. But when you fake documents and you're going to pay penalty.
Spare parts dealers were also advised to report corrupt officials.
In some other business news, the Coalition of Textile Workers has welcomed moves by government to introduce excise tax stamps on textiles to check piracy. The coalition, however, says it is not a sustainable solution to the woes of the industry.
The Coalition of Textile Workers 2 weeks ago demonstrated against what they described as the lack of interest by the government to clamp down on textile smuggling. The coalition wanted government's anti-piracy task force to be dispatched to the markets instead of being at the ports and borders. The Ghana Revenue Authority announced that it has introduced the excise tax stamp to stop the situation. But General Secretary of the coalition, John Kofi Abeka, says government should do more.
As the tax stamp is helping, we still check those who would use all other means to smuggle the goods into the country. We have to still check them. So it is a step in the right direction, but the task force must not be relegated.
The Coalition of Textile Workers insists the anti-piracy task force should be in the markets.
So even though we have given an ultimatum of 1 month, we think there is the need to send a reminder. Because you and I know that demonstrating on the street is a very stressful business. And so we don't want to wait till the 1 month ultimatum that we have given for us to hit the street. For that is not really what we are interested in. And that is why we are here today, reminding them that whatever we presented to the ministry, we want to hear something.
The coalition says if they do not hear favorably from government after the expiration of their 1 month ultimatum, which ends in 2 weeks, they will throng the Jubilee House.
We'll stay on developments there and bring you some more on it on subsequent bulletins. But Managing Director of ARB Apex Bank, Kojo Mata, has urged the Bank of Ghana to consider rigorous financial education as one of the means of dealing with financial scams in rural communities. He said although hundreds of Ghanaians have become victims of financial scam, there will be no end in sight to such fraud if Ghanaians are not financially literate.
According to the Efficiency Monitoring Unit of ARB Apex Bank reports for December 2017, there were 141 rural banks operating across the country. A survey on why some rural adults were relatively more knowledgeable than others and how an individual's knowledge influences his or her opinions and decisions on personal financial issues revealed a relatively low level of financial literacy amongst rural adults. Speaking in an interview with TV3, Managing Director of ARB Apex Bank, Kojo Mata, said there's the need to attach importance to rural financial literacy.
We need to embark on more financial education. We need to start this, for me, I think we should even start it from junior high schools to start educating our children how the banking system works, how they should cultivate savings culture, whilst the banking system also does everything to restore confidence that, look, we thrive on your deposits, and also those who take monies from the financial system as loans should also do well to pay the monies back.
He says although hundreds of Ghanaians have fallen victim to financial scam, there will be no end in sight to such occurrences if Ghanaians are not financially literate.
I don't think we'll see the end of, or we have seen the end of, schemes that will come up to entice people to make deposits with them. We just need to have a strong regulatory environment, and people should know that if they fall foul of the law, they will be punished.
Financial literacy campaigns had become more imperative as financial markets had become increasingly complex and households need to assume more responsibility for financial decisions.
And that rounds up the business news on News360 this evening. Visit our website, it's 3news.com. You can get some more business news on there. Alfred, on to you now for some news on the creation of new regions.
Natalie, for business, but the President, Akufo-Addo, has given the Commission of Inquiry into the creation of new regions more time to submit its report. A document cited by TV3 and signed by the President extends the submission date to the end of June, 2 months after the initial date. Catherine Frimpoma has more.
The amendment became necessary following the inability of the Commission to present its report on April 30, 2018, as stated under CI 105. The Commission of Inquiry, headed by retired Supreme Court Judge Justice S.A. Bobe, was inaugurated by President Akufo-Addo in October 2017 to go around the country to collate views from the public for the proposed 4 new regions. The Commission began public hearings at its secretariat at the Osu Castle, where petitioners were given the chance to justify their requests. Stakeholders from the Bunahafo, Western, Volta and Northern regions presented their petitions to the Commission in Accra in camera as part of the first phase. The second phase was held in the regions from which the petitions came from, where community debates were held to collate concerns. The third phase, held in Accra, afforded those who were unable to appear at the regional public hearings but who still wanted to make submissions to the Commission an opportunity to do so. This was supposed to be the last level of consultation, after which the Commission was expected to present its report to the President in April. However, close sources to TV3 say the Commission wrote to the President requesting an extension to allow for further consultation. CI 107 is therefore an amendment of CI 105, which mandated the Commission to end its work in April. The Commission is by this allowed to continue its work and present their report by the end of June.
Now, the New Patriotic Party supporter Hajia Fati, who abused an Adom FM reporter, has apologized. This was after the MPP, as a party, distanced itself from her conduct. She apologized to the media at the party's headquarters when Sami Awuku, one of the aspirants for the national organizer position, went to pick his nomination forms.
After a series of calls for the New Patriotic Party sympathizer to apologize for the assault on the Adom FM journalist, Hajia Fati finally succumbed to pressure and apologized on Wednesday afternoon. Hajia, who spent most of her time at the party headquarters, was there once again to welcome Samia Uku, who was at the party office to pick his forms for the national organizer position. Hajia took the opportunity to apologize to Ghanaians and the assaulted journalist.
I'm here today to appeal to all pressmen. I'm on my knees begging you people. I don't have any grudge with any pressman, but what came, it was a mistake. So please, you people should forgive me. I'm on my knees. Please forgive me.
Meanwhile, Samia Uko, who is currently the National Youth Organizer and vying for the position of the National Organizer, promised to control the activities of the party's vigilante groups.
I will ensure that I coordinate the efforts of all volunteer groups, be it Invisible, Delta Force, Kandahar, and all that. I'll coordinate them under the party operations team. And the bad stories we hear about these my groups, I'm promising you, you are not going to hear that again.
As of Wednesday, 12 noon, these were the breakdown of people who had picked their nomination forms. National Organizer Position 2, National Chairperson Position 2, Women Organizer Position 2, General Secretary Position 2, Treasurer Position 5. Others were the Youth Organizer Position 6, Vice Chairmanship Position 6. 13 people have so far picked forms to contest Nasara coordinator slots. One of the Nasara coordinator aspirants promised 70% victory for the NPP in Zongo communities in the next general elections.
I believe 2020 election is when the Nasara or the Zongo people of this country are going to say thank you to the Messiah, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
The deadline for the picking of nomination forms is Thursday, 10th May 2018.
Oh, you're still live here on News 360. We'll be back with some more stories. Do stay.
News at 10. We're live from our studios here at Adisaudi.
When you miss News 360 at 7 p.m. because of a busy schedule, we'll serve you again with a smart recap tonight at 10 p.m. with a detailed dissection of the major news of the day, so you are never left behind.
They punched my face, used the gun to hit my wrist.
News at 10. News with a broader perspective.
My name is Stephen Enti. See you tonight at 10.
Welcome back to News 360 and some more news this evening. 38-year-old Melissa Chimwa's life came to a standstill when her daughter was diagnosed of atrial spectrum disorder, hole in heart, some 8 years ago. Try as she did, Melissa has been unable to raise the thousands of dollars needed for 12-year-old Rebecca Bodie's corrective surgery. However, there is hope now for Melissa and Rebecca with the launch of the 3 Foundation and MTN Foundation's Think Heart Save a Child campaign, which will eventually offer corrective surgery for this condition.
Atrial septal disorder, or hole in heart, is a congenital heart condition which affects 1 out of every 100 newborns in Ghana. Available statistics show annually over 7,000 children are born with the condition. Of this number, 50% will die before their 5th birthday. Every year, 2,000 families have to watch on helplessly as they lose their children to this condition. Meet Melissa Chimwa, mother to 12-year-old hole in heart patient Rebecca Bodie. A trader, Melissa says her daughter's condition has taken its toll on both their lives.
In the past 8 years, she hasn't had one surgery. I have not been able to raise any money all these years. I am happy about this program because at least we have a chance now.
It is for the sake of children like Rebecca, whose families have no way of funding the expenses for the required corrective surgeries, that the 3 Foundation and MTN Ghana Foundation are spearheading the Think Heart Save a Child project. 3 Foundation is Media General's corporate social responsibility arm. The launch was kick-started with the simultaneous live broadcast of the morning shows Sunrise and Ian Sempa on 3FM and on UFM respectively from the forecourt of the National Cardiothoracic Center, Kolebu, Accra.
Almost every day we get letters from people who can't afford to pay for the awards to get this surgery. It's targeted at these people, the vulnerable. The operations are delicate and they're expensive, but thankfully we can do them here in Ghana without having to fly these children.
Acting Corporate Services Executive of MTN Ghana, Samuel Kuranting, says over the last decade, MTN has dedicated its resources to promote health and well-being of Ghanaians.
MTN Ghana Foundation is injecting 200,000 Ghana cedis into this project, and we're looking at surgeries for 8 children annually. We ensure that whatever projects we are involved in, we have a sustainability component. We would assess the project year on year, and we are here for the long term.
The Executive Director of the National Cardiothoracic Center, Dr. Lawrence Ajiman-Siribour, noted the staggering statistics is more threatening because of the high cost involved in treatment.
This is a matter of life and death. What more benefit can you get by saving lives? The selection will be based, one, first come, first serve. Another one will be the enormity of the problem. The average cost for a hole in heart, a simple, straightforward one, is between $6,000 to $8,000 equivalent.
A Deputy Minister for Health, Kingsley Abuaji-Jedu, commended the initiative and urged corporate entities to follow suit and join forces with government to promote health initiatives. The Think Heart Save a Child campaign by 3 Foundation and MTN Ghana Foundation will generate 50,000 Ghana cedis every quarter to support the corrective procedures of children between the ages of 0 to 12 years. Other stakeholders re-echoed the need for the public to contribute in all small ways to support the project. The general public can donate via short code 1969.
Well, good news there for Melissa and Rebecca. So 1969 is the short code to donate for. Next, we've got some sports news with Michael Otieje.
Sports news segment is brought to you by Cowbell.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Let's do some sports news. And inevitably, on a day like this, there's only one place to start from. And the man who officiated the now tragic May 9 match between Kumasi and Tikotoko and Accra House of Folk says refereeing in games between the two sides is the easiest thing to do for a match official. Jacob Wilson say was blamed in some quarters for making what most people said were poor decisions that infuriated Kotoko fans and triggered the violence and police reaction that led to the death of 127 fans 17 years ago. He disputes that and is adamant that those games do not put any extra pressure on match officials.
Matches involving Accra House of Folk and Kotoko is the easiest. People might think that is the no. The most difficult matches are the second division matches where you go and you see people smoking on the touchline and they even walk to the field to come and slap you. How's it going to be well protected? And so these are the matches that you can apply the law to the latter. And that's why someone said that you are left with 2 minutes, don't take a penalty. It's never done.
Exactly. I mean,
even so few seconds, you take it.
And you can hear the full interview with Jacob Wilson say later on Sports Unlimited and tomorrow morning on 3FM 92.7. Elsewhere, Sir Alex Ferguson is no longer in intensive care after undergoing emergency surgery on Saturday for a brain hemorrhage. Manchester United have announced Ferguson, who is 78, will continue his rehabilitation as an inpatient at Salford Royal Hospital. The Scot, who retired as Man United manager in May 2013 after winning 38 trophies during 26 years in charge. His family said they've been overwhelmed by the level of support and asked for more privacy. Ferguson will spend the next few days in hospital as he seeks to recover from the brain hemorrhage surgery. And former FIFA President Sepp Blatter has reiterated his view that FIFA World Cups should be staged in one country rather than co-hosted by multiple nations. Blatter, who is 82, said football's world governing body is now interested in co-hosting the World Cup because it wants to increase the tournament to 48 teams. A decision on the host of the 2026 World Cup will be made on June 13th. Morocco are hoping to become only the second African country to host the competition, but they face competition from joint bid from United States, Canada, and Mexico. Blatter, who first pioneered the idea of co-hosting in 2002, says all three countries have the facilities to stage the competition on their own. British number one Kyle Edmund beats 12-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic in 3 sets to reach the third round of the Madrid Open. Edmund beats the 30-year-old in straight sets in 1 hour 40 minutes and will now climb into the world's top 20. He will play David Goffin in the next round after the Belgian's straight sets win over Robin Haas of the Netherlands. And elsewhere, Serena Williams has withdrawn from this month's Italian Open 5 days after opting out of the WTA event in Madrid. The decision puts in doubt her participation at the French Open, which begins on May 27th. Williams is a 4-time winner of the Rome event, which will take place from 14th to the 20th of May. That's all the sports for now.
In 2013, we shaped the course of national policy with compelling stories on education and health. In 2016, we provided the platform for political parties and the socially excluded to engage on issues of national concern. TV3 Mission is back with a bang. We navigate the turbulent terrain of deprived and hard-to-reach communities.
To one message for person access to teaching, empowering women to they provide about.
We focus our sharp lenses on the health and educational needs of the socially excluded to influence policy interventions that promote inclusiveness.
And it tells you how serious
we will get you resolved. Mission Ghana, live on NEWS360. Mission is supported by Star Ghana with funding from Danida, DFID and the European Union.
Who has been in Pyongyang to arrange the planned talks. The White House said Kim Hak-song, Tony Kim and Kim Dong-chu were able to walk on the plane without assistance. They had been jailed for anti-state activities and placed in labor camps. Mr. Trump announced the release of the men in a tweet on Wednesday. Reporters traveling with Mr. Pompeo said their meeting lasted about 90 minutes. And the flight carrying the 3 Americans departed less than an hour after they were released. A U.S. official on the trip told reporters substantial progress had been made and agreed to further cooperate in jointly planning the summit. And get some more international news on our website. It's 3news.com. Next is Entertainment News with Miriam.
Hi there, good evening. Let's do some entertainment news here on NEWS360. We'll start with music because celebrated high life songstress Akosia Japan, famed for songs like Frema and Akebinia, says she will soon release an album as part of a planned comeback. The singer dropped the hint after she was honored together with the wife of the Vice President Samira Baumia and 2 other changemakers by the University of Cape Coast SRC.
The Changemakers were honored for their contributions to students' leadership programs and social activities. According to the SRC, veteran songstress Akosia Ejapon and Samira Baumia have been exceptional advocates for women empowerment. Akosia Ejapon hinted of plans to reactivate her career.
I'm telling you the same highlight, but this time I'm saying you and Nina Juweni and Reniswa, and it's a very danceable tune, and there are about 8 tracks also coming up, and I'm telling you by September I'm going to launch this album and it's going to be big. I want you to know, of course, Japan is still with you, and I love you guys so much.
Acclaimed musician Samini was also acknowledged for his participation in SRC activities and for being a motivation to upcoming musicians on campus. 12-year-old visually impaired musician of Talented Kids fame, Christian Morgan, has been influential in the university's disability project, serving as an inspiration to many. TV3's broadcast journalist Spencer Kwabena Boateng Mensah was also awarded for championing students' interest through his reportage.
Well, we wish Akwesi Japan the very best with a comeback, but away from music to the film, because 23 films from across the African continent, including Ghanaian films, qualified for the nomination stages of the 2018 Golden Movie Awards Africa. According to the organizers of the awards, the number was arrived at after the awards jury spent weeks to screen entries. The films included 5 comedy, 14 feature films, and 3 short films. The 2018 Golden Awards nominations and listed categories will officially be announced in Ivory Coast on May 20th. The main awards will take place at the Movenpick Hotel here in Accra on June 2nd, 2018. Well, Patapaa is still trending. You recall that he's now part of a lineup that will represent Ghana in the Ghana Meets Niger, the 8th edition. But aside his One Kana song, many believe that Patapaa has no other hit songs to boast of. But in an interview with Owusu Warai, the One Kana hitmaker said he will perform 15 songs at the 2018 Ghana Meets Niger concert.
Huge crowd, and I was very scared. As I say, for the first time, something is going to happen on the 9th of June. 20,000 people coming to watch. 20,000 people, it's small for me, as you know. Ghana Meets Niger, way Patapaa Day top. That very day is going to be fire. So we need billions of people. If you talk about people, you don't have to mention up 20,000 people. We need billions. Patapaa is going to be on stage like 30 minutes because we are going to perform songs like. Yeah, we are going to perform like 15 tracks. You know, you have like 15 solid tracks. Add more tracks. Ghana should watch out. Something different from Patapaa on the 9th. And obviously we'll get Olale. You see, Yabeyo Olale. So once you see the Obeti boom. Thank you guys so much.
Well, there's a lot to look forward to on the day for Ghana Meets Niger. Well, that's about it for entertainment. There's more entertainment news on 3news.com. My name is Miriam Osei Ajman. Crossing over to Alfred and Natalie.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
15 songs.
Well,
I don't know where they would come from, but they would come.
I want to thank you for staying with us on News 360 on behalf of the team. We're grateful. My name is Alfred Okansi.
And I'm Natalie Forts. Visit our website. It's 3news.com. You can get some more news on there. Remember, news at 10 will simulcast on our sister station. It's 3FM 92.7. Thanks so much for watching. Have a lovely evening.